Hello everyone out there on YouTube, this is Spoke777, and today I want to talk about this very strange justification for Sabbath ignorance and disobedience, which is straightforward disobedience, is just what is called a defense mechanism of their ego as it faces the anxiety and certainty. Oh no, I'm going to be exposed as a Sabbath violator. I don't want to look bad. I'm going to make up an excuse why I don't do it. And here's one of the excuses I've heard, and I think it's really silly. Well, if you keep the Sabbath, what about the other 613 laws of the Old Testament? Or you just pick and choose what you want to keep? No one's picking and choosing what they observe. The reality is, these people who say this pick and observe which of the 10 Commandments they want to keep and which ones they don't. There are people who say they're Christian, but they worship idols. They don't care about the commandments. They take God's name in vain. They swear. They trample God's holy Sabbath. And they kill. Yes, they do. Some of these people are the highly prejudiced people against Sabbatarians on the internet. And I've seen their websites, and they're prejudiced. Some of them is just darn right is what it is. Now, when it comes to the laws you read about in the books of Moses, a lot of them had to do with the sanctuary and its services, which the Bible says these are a shadow of Christ. And they are. They're symbolic. You don't need to go kill goats or rams or any of these other things. It's not necessary now. We have the real sacrificial lamb and the real sanctuary doing the work. Now, with that in mind, there are still other laws you read about in the books of Moses. Should these be obeyed? And I believe the answer is yes, they should be obeyed. There's laws about mold. If you have mold growing in a house, you gotta get rid of it. You have mold growing on clothing, you gotta get rid of it. That's just common sense. You go to the bathroom, you dig a hole and you bury it. If people actually obeyed that, a lot of the sicknesses that took place in the Dark Ages would have been averted. What else does the Bible talk about? Cleanliness? That's in books of Moses too. It also talks about if a man has a nocturnal ejaculation, he's supposed to wash all his clothing that he had on, and his bed sheets and stuff. Oh, that's just optional. I guess that's done away with so he can live in filth now. I mean, this is really silly. Why do people want to say, oh, you know, they don't even know what's in those 613 laws that they try to dish out as a really, oh, look at me and my big elaborate. You don't have an argument. It's silly because there's a law that says a man should not have sex with a woman in her period. Duh! Common sense will tell you not to do that. That's disgusting. It says a man should not have his father's wife or any of his close relatives. Duh! That's illegal in the United States and it's disgusting. I mean, most of those laws are no duh. But these people whirl around and act like, well, you know, it doesn't really matter because we're not under law, we're under grace. Doesn't Paul say, do we make void the law through faith? Yea, we establish the law. And Jesus even said, till heaven and earth pass away, not a single jot or tittle will pass from the 10 Commandments, basically. Nothing's going to change about the law. Do we go and eat disgusting stuff? Do we eat garbage and think, oh, there's no law, I can eat garbage? I was wanting to get in the trash can and try some tasty delicacies in there. You know, some of these Christians that say you can eat whatever you want. Why don't you go to Ohio State University, go down to the dietetics department, and ask them those questions. Ask them questions, does pork really clog up my arteries and give me coronary heart attacks later in my life? Should I not eat the unclean animals that the Bible forbids? They'll tell you, with certainty, you should stay away from that stuff. It's not healthy. I mean, they know a lot better than you do, and a lot better than these pastors. And they know a lot of stuff. I mean, if you've been down there, you can see how extensive their chemistry department is. It's huge. I've been down there. It's kind of interesting. That's where I go to school at. It's fun. Oh, now you all know I'm from Ohio. Hello. Any other Buckeyes out there? Now, I'm thinking, other 613 laws, should we pick and choose? No. And I even heard from a video that the Bible forbids the usage of corn syrup. I'm like, no it doesn't. It doesn't forbid the usage of sugar. I don't even know where sugar is mentioned in the Bible to be forbidden. It's not there. And someone just made that up and tried to get me to believe it. I'm like, okay, if you're going to make up something like that, I'm not going to listen to you. And you don't post any reference to where you're getting this from? People, come on. Don't believe someone who doesn't give references for things. But you can read in the book of the law, it talks about mold. It talks about woman in her period. It says that everything she sits on is unclean. This is the day before they had sanitary napkins. Apparently, I mean, if a woman in her period sat down and got her menstrual flow on objects, yeah, of course that object's going to be unclean and disgusting. You're not supposed to touch dead carcasses or eat dead animals that died of themselves rather than being slaughtered. You don't do that. That's just dumb. So, I guess we don't have to obey those. I guess, no, this is such a great life now. I can go out, eat a dead roadkill animal like a possum or skunk or raccoon, and just find something on the road. There's my dinner, bring it home, eat it, and not have to worry about my health, not need to worry about my abs or my pecs or my biceps or anything. Come on, dude. You had told me that when I was a kid, because I was a really big science geek then. You definitely would have been the biggest laughing stock of my day. I would have been like, right, and if I drink acid, it really isn't acid. It'll just burn my body. Come on, dude, that's foolishness. It's like saying that somehow magically the fires of hell will burn people endlessly without burning them up. I'm sorry, that doesn't make any sense. Then it's really not burning them. And fire needs two things to exist: a fuel source and oxygen. And guess what? Runs out of either one of them, whatever the fire's doing, the fire's gone. If it runs out of either one of them, I've seen this happen. I mean, you take sulfur, light it on fire, it'll keep burning until there's no more sulfur left. Because all the bonds and everything is made up of matter, and there's chemical bonds with everything, and you break them, and it releases energy in this form of fire. You know, it breaks things apart. Now, sometimes if you throw potassium in water, that thing will just flare up and burst into flame. It's kind of cool, actually. I mean, it's silly. I think that whole argument that, you know, if you do that, you got to keep all these other. They do this to make it sound like we're being legalistic, but a lot of those laws you read about in the books of Moses are just common sense. You don't eat a dead animal that died of itself. I mean, it's just stupid. And there are civil laws that we can't abide by because we don't live in the theocracy that Israel lived in. That's kind of obvious. I mean, we can't stone people. We don't have the jurisdiction for that. We do not, and we should not, disobey the other laws. These other laws are just extrapolations off the 10 Commandments. I mean, these are added because people didn't understand. What does it mean, thou shalt not kill? Does that mean, oh, I can go beat somebody up? No! Old Testament forbids that. Even you'll get penalized if you put somebody's eye out or hurt somebody. Yeah, and rightfully so. You'll get in trouble for it. And I think anybody who goes out there and says, oh, if you say we ought to keep the Sabbath, and we ought to keep all these 613 laws. I mean, someone who's saying that, I'm going to ask you this basic question. Are you saying that because you don't keep any of those other laws? You allow mold to grow in your house, you wear women's clothing, you know. There's a text in Deuteronomy that says the man should not wear that which pertains to woman, and the woman wear that pertains to man. And all these Christians are quick to quote that verse and the verses about homosexuality, but when it comes to Sabbath, they don't want to hear it. And that's very funny. It is extremely hilarious. I think it's funny. As someone who claims to love Jesus wants to say it's okay to have sex with a woman in her period. That's disgusting. I don't care who you are. But the Bible does forbid that. It also forbids having sex with your relatives. I just said that earlier. And the mold thing. I mean, that's... Most of these laws are just common sense. And it's like, no duh. But people don't seem to get it. You are violating the 10 Commandments if you go up and you punch somebody in the face, even though you didn't actually kill somebody. The end. The 613 law, whatever argument they try to throw out there, is irrelevant. It's a statement of irrelevancy because they don't explain how this relates to the 10 Commandments. We're not talking about the other laws. We're talking about the 10 Commandments that these Christians are not keeping because they don't love Jesus. They're part of the deception because if they love Jesus, they would obey this command. This command wouldn't be hard for them. Every Sabbath day, they'd want to spend time with their Lord and Master, Jesus Christ. Every Sabbath they would do this. No questions asked. In fact, I had my grandfather, I think maybe my great-grandfather, when he first heard about the Sabbath, he didn't argue about it. He's like, oh, it makes sense to me. He became a Sabbatarian after that. Not hard. Some people will argue because they don't love God. They're not looking for truth. And I've realized more and more that these people become wasters of my time and keep me from those who want to know the truth. This is Spoke 777, and I hope you enjoyed my video.